Deborah?
Hi, I'm Deborah Schwartz from Brooklyn Historical Society.
We're going to get you a microphone. You have 1 second.
Deborah Schwartz from Brooklyn Historical Society. I'm a great fan of the group sitting in front here. This is a fabulous discussion. I just would piggyback on Tucker's comments and recommend that as you think about the thought leaders, you're really thinking about artists and people in the cultural field as part of that, so that even as you're really focused on technology, you're making sure that you're building on top of the cultural spirit of the city as well.
Yeah, get everyone involved. I agree. And I think the creativity is especially important for Trudy, one, to be creative, but secondly, because that's sort of got the Brooklyn edge to it. And we ought to play with it and play with it hard. You know, we have another asset in town, which is Steve Johnson and Inside Out. Is founded in Brooklyn. Inside Out takes communities and tries to sort of say, here's what's going on and here's what's happening. We ought to get in touch with Steve and figure out how Inside Out features us.
Hi, Jerry.
Hi.
Dave Lombino, Two Trees. Back to the city question. I think an interesting example we could look at actually is a throwback to Baltimore around the time that Camden Yards went to the waterfront. I think we have an opportunity here in Brooklyn. Obviously in September we'll have a new arena nearby. There'll be opportunities, I assume, I'm hoping, for obviously larger gatherings of people, conferences, and so on. And more than that, there's kind of an opportunity to rebrand. I think there'll be a lot of attention, national attention, with a new basketball arena. I think there's an opportunity to use that, to leverage that, to talk about tech and to bring attention to everything that's happening here that we've talked about also.
But I think we talked before City Radar, and what if we did a World Innovation Fair once every other year, that we just brought everyone from around the world that's doing great new things, that had them in the arena as a big event, and then spread it out to the community. It didn't really put us on the map. So I think those kind of ideas really change the game. So way in the back.
My name is Lou Zaccarella. I'm with the Intelligent Community Forum. We're a think tank based in town that works with Jerry here at Poly Tech to re-energize communities for the 21st century. We work on an international platform. I just wanted to pick up, Jerry, you asked a question about other cities we can look at and tie it to Deborah's question, or statement about creativity. One other community that we've talked about and has been here actually at our conference that we do on campus here in June is Eindhoven in the Netherlands. I don't know if that was talked about earlier, but they developed something that is simple but quite profound and effective. They call it the triple helix. And what they've done is they've created an organization called Brainport, which links 23 communities in that industrial belt in Holland. It's one of the largest GDP producers in Europe. They've connected 23 communities, and they're all working together. And what they've done is to create this concept called triple helix, where local government, academia, and the private sector work very intimately to produce outcomes that have creativity at their core. And it's a very, very cohesive working group that creates a new DNA, they use the word helix, right, for the region. So they are reinventing themselves, trying to create a new DNA for the community and the region at large. What they've done on the creative side is they've taken what used to be automotive or industrial design, and they've raised it to the next level. They've overlaid it with digital technology, brought in their creative class, their academic class, and what they do now is anything that touches design, whether it's furniture design or industrial design, fashion design, they relocated themselves in the old Phillips complex out there, and they just try to dominate anything that relates to design. They have many, many events where they bring all of Europe in for lighting design, conferences, and so forth. And what they've been able to do is actually compete with the Chinese in areas of automotive design where the Chinese just don't have that capability, and they are actually competing toe-to-toe with the rest of the world. So when we look at Brooklyn, that is certainly a model. We've got all that creative talent, we've got post-industrial talent, and it's great. And I invite anyone to come to our summit here in June 7th. It'll be actually right in this building. You can come as a guest of mine and Jerry's and see the 7 most intelligent communities of the world. their mayors will be here, and they'll be talking about what they've done to re-energize their communities. We had Chattanooga here last year, by the way, and their mayor. So thank you.
Yeah, no, Lou has done a great job of, now I think you've got 47 cities around the world he's recognized in the last 10 years that are just these intelligent communities, and they're great models for us to use. And he's got a book out, we can tap into that too, so it's ready-made and ready for us to take on. So here we are, wrapping down the end of this discussion, although you're welcome to stick around afterwards with still coffee and things like that. So let's see, to me, one of the things I like to end with is this, and it's really as much to you as to this panel, which is when you set in motion something new like this, I really worry about fragmentation, maybe stagnation too. And that is, how do we shed a bit of our own self-interest to the community's interest? And I sort of encourage everyone as you get involved in this to, if you fail to get invited to the right event, don't treat that as you've been pushed off to the side, but just when somebody got dropped off the list, get back in, stay engaged. Don't feel you're not part of the puzzle. I think it's going to be important for us, as each of us have institutions we need to run, and yet we need now to step a bit above our own institution and say, how do we make this work for everybody? So it's a sort of plea and a suggestion that if we have big enough shoulders to live with each other well on this, we'll accomplish a lot. And 5 years from now, we'll be in such a different place that any one of us will have succeeded on our own mission because we succeeded together. But let's take the last, sort of last question, last shot you have, which is, what do you want most in the next year? You know, I talked about a thing, but now talk about more sort of what's the movement you want to see? What are you going to try to accomplish in this next year, and how can this team help you do it?
Well, I think one of the things that struck me from today's conversation is how much that is going on that I didn't know about, and which is incredibly exciting and thrilling. And it fills me with enthusiasm about what we can accomplish. And so I think to have a functioning, productive group that is actually creating both economic, both planning and political will to drive this thing forward is probably the most significant thing we can do in the short run.
Andrew?
I agree 100%. I think we had a seed of an idea here. We got some funding. We're going to do a great study. I think the keys now are collaboration. We planted the seed. Let's grow the tree right. And I think Karen's point was right on the mark, and a lot of other things said today. And we've got to get more people around the table.
I would just further echo those sentiments that this is a massive community building exercise, right? And it's never going to be for the right outcome here, it's never going to be a process driven by one organization or even a small group of them. It's about Brooklyn coming together and talking about these issues and get everyone engaged. So, to that end, also to echo Jerry's sentiment, don't be shy about stepping up and being a leader in this space if you want to be, right? Like we said, we're enablers and conveners at this point, but we're looking for champions. We're looking for leaders. We want this to be an organic process where we're highlighting the stars that are already here. So please, get in touch with us.
Well, I think these are great sentiments, and I think it's right where we need to head. We as NYU-Poly are more than willing to be a convener, a participant. We need to do this breakfast more than every year. We'll convene, let's convene one time in the fall and get this discussion moving, continue to move forward. When the study is ready to be issued, let's figure out how we get everybody together and have a real discussion about what it means. Maybe break out into some working groups and come up with the next round of ideas for action. Seem to be two big things. The study's coming up, so get your piece into the study. Be sure that what Tucker gets in there reflects all of our interests. But two, let's move past studies, right? So start thinking about, each one of you know a place where you could pull in some action on this, where artists could be brought in, where the bicyclists could be brought in, where the buses could be brought in, where the cafes and restaurants could be brought in. Find those people and tell them what we're doing and say, let's get going. Don't wait 2 years from now. This is going to happen this year. So with that, last comments from the audience. You got something you want to add to the puzzle? There are hands going up. Let's take them here. So right here.
Hi, I'm Ron Gebra of the Brooklyn Eagle. in addition to these high-tech places, you have a lot of older industrial parks and so forth, which are concentrated on older types of technologies, like the East Williamsburg Industrial Park, perhaps the Greenpoint Industrial or Manufacturing Center, the Army Terminal. Can these types of places and those types of manufacturing relate at all to the type of high-tech industry you're talking about?